It's been a while since I napped some chert, so let's nap some chert. I'm not sure if this is heat treat, but we'll try it. I'd rather nap some heat treat. I think that is. It's from my heat treat stack, but you never know. Sometimes I get it mixed up with the raw, high-grade raw stuff. Yeah. Maybe this time we can see what's going on with the napping. Okay, all right. I can't tell. I can't tell yet. I think it is a heat treat. Yeah, it probably is. I found a little bopper, 1.7 ounces. It was hiding in my stuff. This one's not from Mike. This is from Flintknapping supplies, I believe. I do have some small boppers from Mike. Let's see. Got this small one. I can try this one. Okay, let's see. Yeah, very interesting feel to it. I'm just getting rid of some of the bad parts. Just preliminary shaping. These arrowheads are pretty small. It's going to be a walnut canyon. I said I would do it. I got an email or something. No, a comment section request. See, I can swing this one. There's a little bit better velocity. But there's more control with this one. Yeah. Just not as fast. This one here zips. It zips this flakes right off. Yeah. But it's not that accurate. Yeah, sometimes I remove too much material. Okay. Is that good? That's good. 2.65 ounce. That's a 1.7. Alrighty. Oh, excuse me. Oh boy. Already tired. Yeah, chert is much more difficult to remove a flake than Obsidian. But if it's heat treat, it's not too bad. And I believe that's what this is. Yeah, I think so. I gotta pay attention though. I can't be fooling around too much right now. I gotta pay attention. Get the learning curve established. Yeah, you know, deal with the learning curve. And then maybe I can do some yapping. Yeah, this church's rather dry. It's not that glossy. It does peel off the flakes without crunching nearly as much as Obsidian. Obsidian crunches a lot. This one I can peel flakes off without worrying about smashing the edge all to smithereens. It's much more difficult to abrade though. I can tell it's not really liking the abrading part. Obsidian abrades easily. Yeah. And there's a lot of glass dust associated with Obsidian. I'm not seeing nearly as much dust. But the rock dust is more hazardous than the Obsidian dust or the glass dust. Luckily, there's not much of it. Not much of the rock dust. Glass and Obsidian have a different molecular structure in the dust. Rock dust chemically reacts with the lungs because of the arrangement, the orderly arrangement of the crystal structure. It bonds with certain chemicals in the lungs or something, causing an irritant in the lungs that causes scar tissue. As far as I remember, when I looked it up a long time ago, glass dust doesn't have an orderly crystal structure at the molecular level, so it doesn't react with the lungs chemically. Okay, so which side do I preserve? Well, the side with the most banding and the least powdery or the least concretey type of chert. We'll see. If I mess up, I won't have much of a choice as to which side I'm going to pick, because I have to make it a lot more narrow to meet the requirements of the actual arrowhead. This is going to be a arrowhead type. This is not going to be just a wing it and just do an art piece. See, this is dry and chalky on this side, so I don't want that. It can't be sharpened easily. Yeah, this is a little bit chalky up here too. But it's going to be a narrow point, so I think I can get rid of all the chalkiness. It's a cool looking piece of chert. Yep, it's got some banding. Yeah, I have to use a lot more force for this stuff. It's going to be harder to go back to Obsidian than it is to go back to chert. Because Obsidian, you got to tiptoe. This stuff you don't tiptoe with. Nope, nope. You can't tiptoe with this stuff. You won't get anywhere. With Obsidian, since it's so easy to flake, you gotta hold back. Oh yes. Tiptoe with the Obsidian. And glass, of course. This one, it has inconsistencies in it. The darker the chert, the easier it is to flake, which is good and bad. It's good if it's consistently easier to flake, but if it's mixed with the harder to flake stuff, like right here, the chalky intersects right into the most knappable stuff. This is the least knappable stuff right next to the most knappable stuff. It's not a good combination. Yeah, the darker band right there was really easy to flake compared to this other stuff. Okay. What kind of chert is it and where did I get it? It's just Texas road rock. I got it somewhere on the roadside, and then he treated it. It might be a gravel chert. Who knows? It could be skinned off a large nodule because it had some cortex on it. It could be the only good knappable stuff on that nodule. I have no idea. I didn't have no memory of where this came from. It just looks like road rock. What I call road rock, because you can find it sometimes on the side of the road. Dirt road. Yeah. Sometimes they bring it in from somewhere else as fill, and when it rains it washes all the mud away and all you're left with is the hard stuff, and some of the hard stuff that's left behind is chert or flint or agate or some other knappable stone, petrified or silicified, whatever. Yeah. Yeah, this is the kind of stuff that It looks like it can be thinned, but it's not flexible. So the thinning is a challenge. Not to get it thin, but to keep it from breaking while you're trying to thin it. Only way to keep it from breaking while you're trying to thin it is don't thin it. Yeah, keep it a little thick. Sorry to say, but that's the way it goes. This one I'll try to get as thin as possible. But it's hard to tell you how dicey it is, or to show you how dicey it is to do it on video. You can't tell that it could break at any moment because I'm hitting it so hard, and because it's not flexible material like some materials. I mean, a lot of obsidians are quite flexible and you can run long flakes. It needs flexibility so the flakes won't stop or break before they complete their journey. This stuff doesn't want to complete its journey, so you have to hit it really, really hard and hope that it doesn't shock the whole piece so much that it'll snap it all in half. Snap the whole thing. Yep. Of course, it happens with obsidian too. Some of you are going, I don't know what you're talking about, because obsidian does the same thing. Yeah, but for different reasons. Obsidian likes the radial crack. Yeah, among other things, you know, obsidian likes the radial crack, but it also likes to just snap tips off by hitting when you hit the base. It has this weird thing about it that it vibrates or something, and you know, barbs just fly off. The tip flies off unexpectedly. You say, "What the heck happened? When did I lose that?" Unless you're tiptoeing, and then you can deal with it, but it's not that easy. You got to get used to it. Yeah, and pressure flaking is much more difficult with chert. Heat treating does make a difference. Oh yeah. But basically it's the same technique, you know, just a little bit of tweaks to adjust to the material. Your brain does it automatically, pretty much. Yeah. It's actually easier to remove short flakes on the chert than it is to remove short flakes on the obsidian. The obsidian, you got to make sure you don't crush the edge and be very delicate with it. Chert, you don't have to be. You can aggressively just, smash them right off of the edge without crushing it. You can just aggressively, aggressive pressure instead of passive pressure. Obsidian, you need a lot more of passive pressure, or you wait for it to release a flake on its own. You don't just pry the flakes off forcefully like you can with chert. Of course, it works well when you do the passive pressure with chert also. In fact, you can get good results. But I just don't very often because it takes too much time when you don't have to spend that much time. Yeah, I need bigger flakes than that, so I'm going to switch to percussion. I can get flakes of this size. That's a pressure flake right here. But I need them to be a lot longer than that. I need to go past halfway. And yeah, you can get that with pressure, but with something this small, it's so easy to snap it in half when you apply that much pressure. So when you hit it with percussion, it doesn't know what's happening. It's a different kind of stress on the stone. Yeah, I can run a long flake without shocking the piece that much. Do I use this technique with Obsidian? Yeah, it's the same technique with different forces. It's not the same amount of force. And it's probably not the same exact placement of the tip on the edge either. There's very slight differences that make all the difference. I wish I could sit here and be able to focus deeply enough to analyze exactly what the differences are. Maybe I will be able to when when my life is completely simplified and I can do nothing but focus without interruptions. I can maybe start to get into the finer details. But I got too much going on, too much in the background that needs my attention, too many projects that throw me in different directions, so I have to make adjustments with each learning curve on different materials and different tasks and different projects. So it's all over the place right now, but if I can focus, eventually I'll get to that point where there's no interruptions or distractions or misalignments, like I have to get aligned with something else to finish something. If I can have a straight course in one direction, I can learn to pick up on these subtleties without relying on my subconscious to make the adjustments. I can actually consciously try to analyze it. Yeah, I have been in that place before where I had no distractions, but it was when I was very young. I had friends that would make fun of me. You're so into it. You're obsessed with it. You're fanatical. How can you do that for hours and hours and hours? And you're still doing it. And I thought, well, isn't that how everyone does it? You know? No. Over the years, life becomes more and more distracting. Everything has to be done faster and faster and faster, or more and more expediently as well. So you lose if you had it to begin with, you lose the ability to focus consciously. You have to leave everything up to instinct and subconscious, because you're constantly distracted. Constantly thrown in different directions to deal with different things. Sometimes multiple things at once. So everything that you know is superficial knowledge, because you can't get down into the depth of it. But don't worry, you can nap with just superficial knowledge. Yeah, the human brain is amazing. It can take over what you can't do. Hey, stick at it. You stick with it long enough, the brain can do what you're not able to do. It'll make up for it. Maybe not in all cases, but you know. All else being equal, I suppose. This is not nearly thin enough. It's close. I've seen some of these desert points. They can get really, really thin. I've seen some real ones up close. I've handled them before, so I know. I've seen them up close and personal. This is way too big and way too thick right now. And did they make them on flakes or what? Yeah, sometimes they're unifacial, where the original flake scar is on one side. That means they started with a thin flake. But not all of them are like that. Some are super thin and they did not start with a flake. They started with some thick chunk. How do I know? Because you find thick chunks partially worked. You don't find any original flake scars like on the unifacials arrowheads. The preforms are kind of thick, that kind of thing. Yeah, sometimes you find preforms of arrowheads. And a lot of them are really thin, but some of them are not. Some of them are thick in comparison to the finished points. Okay. It went down and then back up. Still doing it. It's because this rod's getting too short. There we go. I'm not able to hold it very well behind my knees, so it kind of flops all over the place. I'm gonna have to deal with a very long pointy tip, I suppose. I am using a little bit of pressure upward. But I can't be using too much because sometimes it slips. And then I hit the workpiece with the mallet. So I can't put too much pressure. Does it work if you put a lot of pressure? Sometimes, yeah, it depends on the stone. Like if it's... sometimes it's difficult to knap. Especially in these crunchy areas, in this, how do I say, chalky areas, I gotta put a little bit of extra pressure on the flaker, push upward a little bit more to get the flakes to run a little bit further. But it's dicey, because if I push on it and then it slips like this, I'll hit it with the mallet.